Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to start out by thanking you guys for showing up. I apologize for the short notice on this and moving this up in our schedule, but we identified some travel conflicts and some other commitments that weren't going to allow some of our partners to be here today. So they wanted to be here today. It was important for everybody to make it on this anniversary of Michael's disappearance, and so I appreciate you for indulging us and moving this up in your schedules as well. So I quickly want to recognize the Fruitland Police Department, the men and women of our department, as our staff continues to work tirelessly to keep this department moving forward as we continue to investigate Michael's case. So their loyalty and courage and tenacity is clearly unmatched, and it's a privilege to lead and work with these people every day. I just wanted to introduce some of my partners. As I've done in the past, our partnerships haven't changed. I'd like to introduce Supervisory Agent in Charge Doug Hart with the FBI, Captain Matt Sly with the Idaho State Police, Chief Gary Marshall with the Payette City Police Department, Sheriff Andy Creech with the Payette County Sheriff's Office, and Mark Sullivan with the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue. We also have with us today the family of Michael Vaughan. We've got Brandy Neal, Tyler Vaughan, and Bob Vaughan, and Bug. So it's nice to have them here with us today. So since the evening of July 27th, 2021, the Fruitland Police Department, the Idaho State Police, the FBI, law enforcement agencies, and law enforcement agencies across the country have investigated the disappearance of 5-year-old Michael Vaughan. We haven't stopped. Every day we have unfinished business, and I'll tell you that every day is an anniversary of the disappearance from Michael Vaughan for us. Law enforcement, the families of law enforcement, and our community. Our investigation remains intense and strong. So I want to take a moment to just kind of cover some significant aspects of the case to provide some context for those who aren't completely familiar with our case, or those might be jumping in a little bit later. A lot of it I've covered in prior press conferences, but I wanted to cover it again today. So, Michael Joseph Vaughan was last seen at his residence on Southwest 9th Street at approximately 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, July 27, 21. Law enforcement received the first call by 911 at 7:21 p.m., and we began an immediate search of the area. And I should note that law enforcement across the country receives these type of calls every year. Numerous calls like this, we call them wander-offs, and they conclude, but after finding the child safely with friends or family, and clearly it's typically a breakdown in communication. So you need to know the first missing and endangered alert went out at 8:20, with different alerts to email, phone calls, text messages being issued to area residents until 11:20 that night. Michael's image and information went out to law enforcement nationwide on a database called the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC. And Michael's also been entered into the State of Idaho Missing Person Clearinghouse and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The Fruitland Police, Payette Police, and Payette County deputies and citizens searched through the night until support arrived the following morning. The ensuing response was immense. We had over 100 law enforcement officers from federal, state, and local agencies, including the FBI Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team, along with trained search teams, converge on our small city of Fruitland. Our physical search efforts were conducted by experts from the Idaho Fish and Game, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, both Fruitland and Sand Hollow Fire Departments, multiple law enforcement agencies, and coordinated citizen searchers. The search included over 200 residential homes, properties including outbuildings, a septic tank, garbage cans, vehicles, irrigation ditches, and drained canals. Trained search teams and law enforcement, along with specialized canine teams from across the country, searched over 3,000 acres of farm ground, along with areas surrounding the city and out into the county. Sophisticated drones, boats with sonar, boats with canines, kayaks, paragliders. I would say that if we could have dammed the Snake River, we would have. With the help of residences and businesses, we were able to retrieve hours and hours of security camera video, and we continue to reference that video while working on our leads. So let's talk about since the disappearance of Michael. When I tell you our investigation has been intense and daily, I can assure you that it has been. Since the disappearance, detectives and investigators across the country have logged tens of thousands of man-hours to bring this case to conclusion. We've gathered an immense amount of data and continue to work through it with experts from several agencies. We've applied for and served over 27 search warrants, but that may seem low, but I'm telling you that we've also performed probably triple that in mutual consent type searches. So the search warrant and consent searches we've performed have yielded high volumes of data, and search warrants are still being written today. The data requires expertise from law enforcement partners, and this takes a lot of time to decipher. We continue to use all of our investigative resources, to include that of the Idaho State Police and our friends at the FBI. Further, the Idaho State Police and the FBI have assigned investigators to work specifically with the City of Fruitland Police Department on this case, and our partnership is healthy and strong. We continue to call upon the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue teams with their specialized canine units, and we've received some recent leads that have put us out in the area again, searching more acreage. And I can't thank them enough for what they've done for us. On a moment's notice, they're jumping and running for us. Although unsuccessful with these searches, we can't stop, and we appreciate the continued support from all of our members. And I would tell you that the number of acres searched will continue to grow. So in our efforts to develop a detailed timeline of events leading up to Michael's appearance, we've processed over 1,000 leads. So we've cleared many of these leads, but not all have been cleared because some require assistance from out of state, more investigators, and probably more importantly, just time to work these things through to make sure we can bring each lead to a conclusion. This process is exhaustive and it takes a lot of time, and we believe someone out there will ultimately provide us with some information that'll help us solve this case. It's important to note that as we continue to refine our timeline, we now believe that Michael disappeared in a smaller window of time, and that's probably between the time of 6:40 p.m. and 7 o'clock p.m. on the 27th. Earlier in the investigation, we needed assistance in identifying 2 vehicles and 2 pedestrians that were seen in the area around the time of Michael's disappearance. And so you guys need to know that we positively identified the blue Dodge Avenger we were looking for, and the man that we saw jogging in that area. Those have both been identified, vetted, and investigated, and to an end. So the white Honda Pilot, 2016 to 18 Honda Pilot that we have leaving the area at approximately that time, again, we believe that it belongs to a resident, but we haven't quite been able to clear that and verify that. So that's kind of still an outstanding for us. The man seen walking through the area of the splash pad of Crestview Park leading up to the time of Michael's disappearance, he's not come forward and he has not been identified. So the man's described as a white male adult, late 20s, early 30s. He was seen wearing black shorts, a white t-shirt with cut-off sleeves, dark colored shoes, and a hat. So I need to make it perfectly clear that he is not a suspect, but we need to talk to him so we can determine his whereabouts and see if he witnessed anything that would be helpful in this investigation. So I plan on releasing a photograph of that individual in my Facebook official posting later today. So you'll all have that. You need to understand that this is a multifaceted investigation. So many leads are working. We're working many leads at the same time. So some leads are temporarily abandoned as priority leads come in, and that's happened to us on multiple occasions. Once abandoned and we clear the priority leads, then we pick those things right back up and we're working on them again until we can work them to conclusion, right? It takes an intense effort and a lot of work to document all of the leads as they're coming in. And at the conclusion of this investigation, I'm hopeful we'll find the answers. It's important that our case is organized and very strong. So I will tell you that this is a criminal investigation. So with that, you need to know that a majority of our investigative efforts just cannot be made public at this time. As members of the community, we agonize with the family, and we've dedicated our resources to bringing Michael home. So we believe the continued distribution of this story will generate more attention and tips that can be investigated by our department and our partners. So anyone having information regarding Michael's disappearance, I would ask that you please reach out to us. No tidbit of information is too benign or too obscure. It just helps us process the overall picture. We appreciate the efforts of the community, members of the media partners who keep this case at the forefront by promoting and sharing the story, and we encourage all of you to continue sharing the official poster from the Idaho Missing Persons Clearinghouse. I would like to introduce a new partnership today. It's called the Homeward Bound Program. The program was first started by Trooper Renee Paget with the Washington State Patrol in 2005. She was working with the WSP Commercial Vehicle Division. Trooper Paget worked with then the Gordon Trucking with a vision that posters of missing children being displayed on sides of semi-trailers traveling around the country could bring much needed awareness and possibly recovery. With the help of Tanea Parmiter with the Idaho State Police, we've been able to partner with the Homeward Bound program, which will carry Michael's information across the country on semi-trailers. As designed by Trooper Paget, this will expand the exposure of Michael's case on the interstates, highways, and roads of our country, which will bring new leads and potentially help us bring Michael home. We're hoping to have semi-trailers outfitted with Michael's information near the end of August and get those on the road. I would ask anyone with any information to continue to send tips to findmichael.org. If you are out of state and you have information that you think would help us bring Michael home, I'm encouraging you to contact your local law enforcement team. They will then get in touch with us and we can start working those leads as they come in. Please share what you have. You can also contact Crime Stoppers at 343-COPS. You can remain anonymous. The reward for the information leading to Michael's safe return has grown to $52,992. This fund has been maintained by the City of Fruitland. It's secure. This will remain in place until Michael comes home. I just ask that you continue to pray for Michael, for strength for his family, and the steadfast resolve for those who are working to bring him home. Thank you for standing firm with Michael's family and our continued law enforcement efforts. So with that, we'll stand for a few questions. Go ahead.
People are saying that the family has a beneficial inheritance, and we would like to know if that's true, that you have beneficial inheritance, you're just diverting your attention elsewhere. Can you give us a little bit more information on that?
You know, I would tell you that people like to deal in absolutes, and there's nothing about this case that is an absolute. So we will continue to investigate all aspects and all avenues in this case. And, you know, as I've said before, the family continues to be extremely cooperative and working with our investigation. And so, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of where we're at.
You previously said back in November that there's a strong likelihood that he was abducted. Is there anything you can say that you can share with us that led you to that conclusion?
Tristan, you know, due to the number of searches with trained teams and the acreages searched, that is the reason why, and without success, that is the reason why we, you know, there's a possibility or a higher probability of abduction. That's what led us to that. Again, you know, as we continue to work through this thing, there are still no absolutes. So when I say everything's on the table, it's still on the table. Okay.
Have you been looking into people that he may have been close with or known, or do you consider this a possible stranger abduction? Is there any avenue that you're focusing more on, a stranger or someone who knew? Can you talk about that?
You know, we're looking into that, but I think, like I said, you know, these leads and what we're doing, it's happening at the same time. So yes, we're looking into friends and family close to the Vaughans, and we're looking outside as well.
Has the public
Yes, yes, it has. So, there's a number of theories. And as a matter of fact, we develop many theories throughout the week as well. And so once we develop those theories, plausible situations, then we vigorously get after that. And so I certainly don't want to discourage any information that's coming into the Fruitland Police Department, because the leads have been, we're over 1,000 leads now, and we have to have that. I mean, I believe that, in the midst of that, there's going to be that tidbit of information that breaks this case and helps us bring him home. So.
That being said, do you think that, the last press conference we had with November, do you think that not being able to release as much information as the public would like, or as much as information that this case warrants, that's led to people coming up with these theories?
Yeah, I think it could be. But you also need to understand that we have an obligation, and in order to keep our case organized and strong when this thing is concluded, it's important that we hold that information close, at least at this point, right? There'll be a time for that, for public disclosure, and right now it just isn't. So that's the reason for my hesitancy to put out updates, because we are in the daily work of this investigation, and it's daily. So while it's certainly not a distraction, if I have significant information that needs to be passed, then I'll get it out there to you. But I just, we're just working this thing on a daily basis. So.
Is there anything you can say about persons of interest in this case? How many persons of interest?
I'm not going to really get into too deep on the persons of interest, but I will tell you there are multiple. Okay.
Are there any people that you interviewed or searched that have been non-cooperative?
Yeah, there have been. Without getting into too much detail, I would tell you properties, vehicles, electronic devices, everything you think we would be serving search warrants on, more than likely we've served search warrants on it. So.
And then you mentioned there were multiple persons of interest on there.
No.
Can you tell us a little bit about your daily efforts on this case? I mean, what does the day-to-day look like when you're investigating?
So our day-to-day efforts start with an intelligence briefing first thing in the morning. We go over aspects of the case and current leads that we're working to try to develop new strategies. We pull in our partners from the FBI and the Idaho State Police, and we start with a direction for that day, and every day starts the same. But I will tell you, it has been this way since the day Michael went missing, right? We do the same thing every day, and it's intense. And so we're able to clear a lot of leads that way. We're making a lot of progress. Working through the data, and like we have been from the beginning, that's kind of where I'll leave that.
In your investigation, have you been able to tie this possibly to other missing children or abductions that are similar?
We haven't, although I know there are some similarities, such as the Summer Wells case, but we just haven't been able to tie that to that case. So. All right, well, if I don't have any more questions, I really, again, you guys, I appreciate you. You guys have been phenomenal, my local media outlets. I can't thank you enough. Les, you're awesome, so I appreciate you. And, we'll keep after it. My intent, just so you guys know, is once we get the word on our Homeward Bound program and when those trucks are going to be outfitted, that we'll set up another time that we can do an unveiling on our truck with Michael's information, maybe bring you guys out at that point again just to, view the truck, and, we'll get something out to the public when it comes to that as well. So, but again, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you. So.